I am about to terminate an individual who has demonstrated a lack of worth by aiding someone I deemed unworthy of my time. The reason for my dismissal today stemmed from my delay in attending a crucial business meeting, all because I chose to assist a woman in a wheelchair at the airport. Even though this act of kindness cost me my job, I stand by my decision without a shred of regret. Had I chosen to disregard her plight, I would have been haunted by a profound sense of guilt every single day. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. As I was preparing to leave the company, packing up my belongings with a heavy heart, my manager, Bill, burst into the room in a state of palpable panic. His urgency was unmistakable as he urgently called out to me. "Mr. Hayes, you need to see the news immediately." President Hayes's face went ashen, clearly bewildered by the sudden turn of events. I turned my attention to the television, and there she was, the very woman in the wheelchair whom I had assisted. It was at that moment everything became clear. The woman was, in fact, someone significant, Tyler. I am 28 years old, an ordinary employee at a care products company, having dedicated my career to this firm since graduation. With the company's recent success and growth, my income had seen a modest increase, a development that brought me genuine happiness. Yet beneath my satisfaction, there was a nagging unease about the company's evolving business practices. Under Bill's management, we had shifted to a sales strategy that prioritized pushing products rather than genuinely addressing the needs of our customers. Although this approach had led to increased transactions, it conflicted with my values. We were proud of our reliable products, but I struggled with the ethical implications of selling items to customers who did not truly need them. I attempted to discuss my concerns with Bill, but my words fell on deaf ears. "Bill, don't you think we should reconsider our sales strategy? Sure, our numbers are up, but this approach could damage our reputation with our customers over time. We should not concern ourselves with reputation. If customers are willing to pay, we have no reason not to sell. Isn't there a way to align our sales with genuine customer needs?" That sounds like an excuse from someone who can't keep up. Your performance has always been subpar. Before the policy change, I was consistently among the top performers. However, my inability to adapt to the new sales tactics led to a sharp decline in my performance, relegating me to the lowest ranks. Previously unmentioned complaints from Bill and Mr. Hayes started surfacing as my performance faltered. "Despite your poor performance, you're still wasting time with pointless discussions." When Mr. Hayes came to inspect the office, Bill greeted him with an overly respectful demeanor. "Mr. Hayes, it's a pleasure to see you." In the end, this episode highlighted the deep conflict between my integrity and the company's aggressive sales tactics, a conflict that ultimately cost me my job but reaffirmed my commitment to doing what I believe is right. "Good to see you, Tyler. Are you causing trouble for Bill again with your endless, pointless complaints? Just listen to what he's saying. He's questioning our sales policy, calling it flawed. Flawed. Bill's sales strategy has been a cornerstone of our company's growth and success. Surely, you can see that." "No, Bill. I'm simply advocating for a sales approach that genuinely aligns with our customers' needs, rather than pushing products that might not be necessary for them. If we continue to obsess over what customers might need, our performance will inevitably suffer. We can't afford to worry about that. If you have the time to make such criticisms, why don't you direct that energy into generating sales? This is exactly why some people view you as a failure." "I'm truly sorry, Bill. I understand that the situation is difficult, but I urge you to consider the well-being of your team as well." "Yes, I apologize." With those dismissive words, Bill stormed out of the office, leaving me in the wake of his irritation. Soon after, he started to offload a mountain of menial tasks onto me, tasks that seemed designed to keep me busy and frustrated. This relentless stream of trivial duties meant that I was often working late into the night, unable to finish everything during regular hours. The whispers of my clash with Bill spread throughout the company, and soon, colleagues were too intimidated to voice their opinions or even question the new policies. The atmosphere became stifling, and the camaraderie we once shared turned into a cautious silence. Despite the mounting pressure, I remained resolute in my conviction. I refused to let go of my principles, even as the weight of the job became nearly unbearable. Each evening, I trudged home on the last train, feeling the exhaustion in every bone of my body. My grandmother, the one constant source of love and support in my life, awaited me with her usual warmth. Since my parents have been stationed overseas for work since I was young, I have lived with my grandmother, who has her struggles with mobility. My responsibilities include not only caring for her daily needs, but also managing her medical appointments. Although this balancing act is far from easy, I have always embraced it with love and dedication, never viewing it as a burden. Welcome home, Tyler. You must be drained from today's challenges. Hi, Grandma. Oh. You've been arriving home quite late recently, and you seem unusually fatigued. Is everything all right? Work has been particularly hectic lately. I'm managing, though. Are you sure there's nothing else troubling you? I can sense that something is weighing on you. Her perceptiveness and compassion have always been extraordinary. Even though I have tried to shield her from the full extent of my struggles, she saw right through my brave facade. I found myself opening up to her, revealing the depth of my frustrations with the work environment and my ongoing clash with my supervisor. So that's the situation you've been dealing with. Her understanding eyes and comforting presence provided a balm to my weary soul. It was a relief to share my burdens with someone who not only listened but also truly cared. Despite the harsh realities of my work environment and the mounting pressures, the love and support from my grandmother offered a glimmer of solace. Her unwavering belief in my integrity and resilience was a reminder of the values I hold dear, even as I navigated the tumultuous waters of my professional life. Yeah, I find myself wondering if I have no other choice but to conform to the supervisor's approach if I want to secure contracts. So, how have you been handling your sales lately? I've been focusing on genuinely listening to my customers and recommending only what they need. It seems to lead to greater satisfaction on their part. I even attempted to use the sales strategy that Bill suggested once, but it felt completely wrong for me. Then I think you should follow your path, but keep in mind that this might not improve your performance, and there's a chance you could end up losing your job. But I don't believe it's right to deceive customers in our sales practices. Grandma, do you think I'm doing the right thing? I may not know a lot about sales, so I can't say definitively whether you or Bill is right, but I do believe it's important for you to stick to your principles. Her words struck a deep chord within me, and I found myself tearing up. She has always encouraged me to be someone who acts for the benefit of others, a principle that has profoundly shaped my approach to life and work. Her own life exemplifies these values. She is known for her kindness and unwavering willingness to help others in need. Her reputation as a beloved figure in our community speaks volumes about her character. I hold her in the highest regard, and her guidance has been a beacon for me, even in the face of challenging situations at work. But it makes me happy. What makes you happy? That you've remained steadfast in holding on to the values I've imparted to you all these years, even now as an adult. Well, when you're told so many times to act for the good of others, it starts to become second nature. But acting selflessly can indeed be quite challenging. Is that so? Consider the people around you. My mind immediately turned to my superiors at the company. They seem to be driven by profit, often at the expense of ethical considerations. It's a tough reality to grapple with, especially as one matures. In that regard, Tyler, you're doing exceptionally well. I'm incredibly proud of you. That feels like an overstatement. No need to be so modest. Look, you have an early start tomorrow, don't you? You should head to bed now. Yeah, I understand. Good night. I finished my nightly routine and went to bed without delay. Normally, my mind would be plagued with anxieties, making it difficult to fall asleep, but tonight was different. Speaking with my grandmother had soothed my mind, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a renewed sense of motivation to tackle my work with dedication and integrity. I remained committed to my principles, despite the ongoing challenges. My performance did not improve, and Bill's criticism continued unabated. Bill and Mr. Hayes turned overtime into a daily routine, leaving me to return home late each night. You're perpetually slow at work, and your performance remains at the bottom. You're becoming quite the burden. I apologize. I wish I could bring in a significant deal. A significant deal. It's likely beyond your capabilities. Regardless, I need this task completed by today. By today. But there are only 30 minutes left in the workday, and I still have other tasks pending. Can't you handle that? Other employees managed to complete more work in the same time frame. Understood. I'll do my best. Days like these were frequent, and sometimes I missed the last train, forcing me to stay overnight at the office. Yet, despite these trials, I never wavered from my principles. One day, something unexpected happened during a visit to a regular client. I'm grateful for everything you've done for us, Tyler. No, I should be the one thanking you. I truly appreciate the opportunity. The positive nature of our transactions is thanks to you always listening attentively and explaining the products so thoroughly. That's very kind of you. There's something I'd like to discuss with you, Tyler. What's that? There's a company looking for a new trading partner. I was thinking of recommending your company. Really? Which company are you referring to? Johnson Corporation. Johnson Corporation? That's a major player. Are you sure you want me to handle this? Yes, I'd like you to take this on specifically. They value not only the quality of the product but also the character of their partners. I trust you to represent us well. Our company takes immense pride in our product quality. I'm honored that you have such confidence in me. Yes, please count on me. Through this client, I was able to make contact with a major corporation. A few days later, I received an incredible call from Johnson Corporation, and to my astonishment, I was put in charge of a monumental deal worth $100 million. The news of my success quickly reached Bill, and his reaction was one of utter disbelief. You managed to secure a deal with Johnson Corporation. Yes, it appears to be a significant one. Are you saying you took this from another salesperson? No, they reached out to me through one of our existing clients. I see. By the way, how much commission will you be receiving for this deal? I'm not sure yet. I haven't received any updates about that. Well, I hope you can remain true to your principles, even with the substantial amount of money involved. Absolutely. Oi. A week later, I was summoned to Mr. Hayes' office, my heart racing with anticipation. Mr. Hayes, is there something I can help with? Not exactly. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. How are things between you and Bill? We're not particularly close. Why do you ask? Recently, there have been some rumors circulating about Bill and me. I've heard that you and Bill have been at odds. Rumors? Yes, there is some truth to that. I see. It appears Bill has been documenting your activities, and it's causing some complications. What do you mean by that? Bill's records have been sent to the head office. There are complaints regarding his management of you and the burdensome tasks he's assigned. Really? I wasn't aware of that. Yes, this situation might result in Bill's dismissal. It's not your fault. It seems your dedication is being acknowledged, but Bill's handling of the situation is under scrutiny. Thank you for informing me. Mr. Hayes's words left me with a mix of emotions. On one hand, I felt a sense of validation for my steadfast adherence to my principles, despite the challenges I faced. On the other hand, the thought of Bill facing potential consequences was sobering. I remained committed to my values, holding on to the belief that integrity and honesty were the foundations of true success. With Bill's dismissal, a profound transformation swept through the company, revitalizing the work environment and dramatically improving my work situation. Freed from the burden of Bill's misguided management, I found myself entrusted with more significant responsibilities and receiving recognition for my unwavering principles and achievements. The respect and acknowledgement I had long yearned for finally came to fruition. Despite the trials the company had endured, my commitment to my values and my dedication to what I believed in ultimately paved the way for a positive resolution. Just continue doing what you always do, and I'm confident you'll succeed, my grandmother had advised me. Thank you, Grandma, I replied, feeling the weight of her words. Her guidance had been a steadying force through my trials. As I left her house, her reassuring words eased some of the tension I had been feeling. I felt a renewed sense of hope as I made my way to the airport, where I was set to meet directly for an important negotiation. I arrived early and decided to take a stroll around the airport to clear my mind before heading to security. It was then that I noticed a woman in a wheelchair who seemed distressed and in need of assistance. The bustling crowd and busy airport staff had left her largely unattended. The clock was ticking, and I realized that if I didn't proceed through security soon, I might miss my flight. Yet, how could I ignore someone in immediate need right before me? My grandmother's words echoed in my mind, "Be someone who can act for the sake of others." The gravity of her advice reminded me of my core values, making it impossible for me to turn away. With a determined heart, I approached the woman. "Excuse me, is everything all right?" "My wheelchair suddenly stopped working, and I need to catch my flight quickly," she explained, her voice tinged with urgency. Seeing her predicament, I assessed the situation with the knowledge I had gained from assisting my grandmother with her wheelchair. I quickly identified the problem and began working on it with familiar skills. "Do you think it can be fixed?" she asked, her eyes filled with hope. "Most likely. It should be back in working order shortly," I reassured her. "You seem quite experienced. Do you work in wheelchair servicing?" she inquired, a hint of relief in her voice. "Well, I have some experience with them due to my grandmother's condition," I explained. "I'm used to handling these kinds of issues." "That's reassuring. Thank you so much," she said. After a few moments of focused effort, I managed to get the wheelchair working again. Given her urgent need to catch her flight, I enlisted the help of a nearby staff member to escort her through to her gate. "Thank you so much for your help," she said gratefully. "It's no trouble at all," I responded modestly. Checking my watch, I realized my flight had already departed. With a quick farewell, I made my way to the ticket counter to arrange a new reservation. As I prepared to leave, I heard the woman calling out to me from behind. "Wait a moment. My name is Haley Aris. May I have yours?" "I'm Tyler," I said, handing her my business card. "Feel free to reach out if you need anything." "Thank you again, Tyler. I must be going now." As she hurried off, I felt a sense of satisfaction and contentment. Although I had missed my flight, helping Haley reinforce the values my grandmother instilled in me. It was a small act of kindness, but it reminded me of the importance of staying true to one's principles, even amidst personal challenges. I handed Haley my business card from my suit pocket, wishing her well as I hurriedly left the scene to complete the necessary procedures. Amidst the chaos of rescheduling, I quickly called Bill to inform him that I had missed my flight and would be taking the next one. Despite the rush, I managed to board the subsequent flight and arrived at my destination. However, my delay meant I reached the company office 5 minutes late. Bill and Mr. Hayes were already there, their frustration palpable as I walked in. "How dare you be late on such an important day for our negotiation?" Bill's voice was sharp with anger. "I'm sorry," I began, but the gravity of the situation seemed to have escalated. "You've just tanked our credibility with a client. How do you plan to take responsibility for this?" Bill demanded. Well, actually, I tried to explain, but Bill cut me off. "Why were you late?" he continued, his irritation growing. I explained the incident at the airport. "A woman in a wheelchair is worthless compared to a deal with Johnson Corporation. Can't you see that?" But I couldn't just ignore her. She needed help. "You should have." Ignoring someone is something even a kindergartner can do. Why couldn't you? "Enough, Bill. There's no point in talking to such a useless person," Mr. Hayes interjected. "But he's caused such a mess," Bill continued. "I'd love to fire you right this instant, but since the client specifically requested you, you'll have to pack your things after the negotiation." "Does that mean?" "Yes, you're fired, but you'll still attend the negotiation. After that, you're of no use to us. Bill and I will lead the discussion, so don't bother doing anything." "But I've practiced so much. Please let me try," I pleaded. "Don't you get it?" Bill snapped. "Someone who prioritizes worthless trash over their job doesn't need to do anything. You are just in the way." Their words stung deeply, but I knew I had to maintain my composure. As I sat through the negotiation, I felt increasingly sidelined. The meeting proceeded with Bill and Mr. Hayes leading the discussion, effectively overshadowing my presence. Despite my preparations and eagerness to contribute, I was relegated to the background. Once the negotiation concluded, Bill and Mr. Hayes wasted no time in making their decision clear. They handed me my termination papers and directed me to collect my belongings. The sense of defeat was overwhelming, yet I reminded myself of my grandmother's teachings. As I packed my things, I reflected on the day's events. My commitment to helping others and sticking to my principles had cost me my job, but it also reinforced my belief in the values I held dear. Even in the face of adversity, I knew I had acted with my sense of integrity and kindness. Leaving the office for the last time, I took a deep breath and walked away with a bittersweet mix of regret and resolve. The future was uncertain, but I was determined to carry forward the lessons I had learned and the values I had upheld, no matter where my path might lead. At a loss for words, I couldn't respond to the harsh criticism from Bill and Mr. Hayes. While we were arguing, a staff member from Johnson Corporation entered the office and led us to the president's office. We were told to wait for a bit until President Johnson arrived, so we took our seats on the sofa, enveloped in an awkward silence. Bill and Mr. Hayes continued to grumble about me in hushed tones. Reaching my limit, I stood up to leave when a familiar face appeared on the TV in the president's office. It was Haley, the woman I had helped at the airport. She seemed to be giving an interview on the news. "Look, Bill, the woman in the wheelchair is on TV," I said, trying to catch their attention. "Oh, she's pretty." "It's a pity she has a disability," Bill remarked dismissively. Even as their conversation reached my ears, I was shocked to see Haley on TV. Realizing she was someone significant, I watched as she spoke about the incident at the airport with a smile. Actually, on my way to the studio, my wheelchair broke down at the airport, and I almost missed my flight. But then a salesperson from Hayes' company fixed my wheelchair and escorted me to the gate. We value his personality in our employees, and I hope they can be inspired by him. Of course, we're proud of our excellent staff. Hearing her interview, Bill and Mr. Hayes exchanged looks of disbelief. About that interview just now, Bill started. "No way. That can't be it, Mr. Hayes interrupted. Just then, President Johnson finally arrived in the office. "Sorry for the delay," he said with a warm smile. "Not at all. It's fine. We apologize for taking up your time. We're sorry for our subordinate's behavior, Mr. Hayes responded, trying to smooth over the situation. "It's okay. By the way, you saw my daughter on the news just now, right?" "Yes," I answered cautiously. "The salesperson she was talking about was you, wasn't it?" "It seems so," I replied. "You're quite humble. You're truly a wonderful person. Let me thank you on behalf of my daughter." "Thank you very much," I said, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. "No, I just did what anyone would do," I insisted modestly. "That's right. Well, since Mr. Johnson has said so, let's just let bygones be bygones regarding Tyler's tardiness this time, Mr. Hayes suggested, trying to salvage the situation. "But earlier you said I was fired," I said, unable to keep quiet. "Be grateful that kind, Mr. Hayes is forgiving you," President Johnson said, cutting me off and clearly showing his disapproval of their earlier behavior. "Thank you for your generous understanding, Mr. Johnson. Shall we proceed to the negotiation, Mr. Hayes asked, trying to move forward. But as we were about to start the presentation, President Johnson made an unexpected statement. "No need for that." "Does that mean, Mr. Hayes began, clearly puzzled. Seeing his positive reaction to me, were you perhaps hoping that he would accept the deal? President Johnson asked with a raised eyebrow. They smiled with joy. "Does this mean the deal is set, Mr. Hayes asked eagerly. "You truly have an eye for quality to recognize our value without even needing a presentation. Yes, it seems his reputation is well deserved." "Then let's sign the contract right away, Mr. Hayes said, reaching for the documents. But President Johnson made another unexpected statement. "Sign? I never said anything about making a deal." The room fell into confusion. "Why not? Doesn't no need to talk mean you'll make a deal with us, Mr. Hayes asked. "What do you mean by that?" President Johnson asked. "Well, the reason is clear. I can't make a deal with people who insult my daughter." "My daughter, Mr. Hayes asked, bewildered. "We never said anything of the sort, right, Bill?" Mr. Hayes attempted to deflect. "I think we should reconsider our approach," President Johnson said firmly. "Our values and respect for individuals are crucial, and it's clear that your behavior today has not aligned with them." With that, President Johnson dismissed us. The weight of the situation was heavy, but I felt a sense of vindication. The respect I had shown to Haley and the principles I had upheld had, in the end, validated my efforts. As we left the office, the realization that integrity and respect had won out was a powerful reminder of the importance of staying true to one's values, no matter the circumstances. "It must be some misunderstanding, Mr. Hayes stammered. "No misunderstanding. You were speaking ill of my daughter on TV," President Johnson said firmly. "No way, Mr. Hayes protested, his face turning pale. Yes, that way, President Johnson asserted. Just then, a familiar voice cut through the tension as the door opened. Haley wheeled herself into the room, her presence causing Mr. Hayes and Bill to freeze in shock. We had no idea she was your daughter. Please forgive our rudeness. We deeply apologize, Mr. Hayes said, his voice faltering. If it wasn't my daughter, would you still think people in wheelchairs are worthless? President Johnson asked sharply. I can't work with people harboring such vile thoughts. Please leave, President Johnson declared. This can't be happening, Bill exclaimed, but their protests were in vain as they were escorted out. As I was about to follow them out, President Johnson called out to me. Wait, your name was Tyler, right? Yes, I replied, turning back. Weren't you just told by Mr. Hayes that you were fired after this negotiation? Yes, I was told I'd be fired after this as I'd no longer be needed. How do you know about that? Our company places a great emphasis on character. During negotiations, my father always monitors the attitude of our business partners closely. Even a slight misstep, and he's willing to call off a deal. He's that strict. So you've been monitoring us since we arrived at the company. If that made you uncomfortable, I apologize. But I believe that while profit is important, what's most essential is the ability to empathize and act considerately towards others. His words echoed my grandmother's teachings, and I found a deep respect for his values. So, having observed your actions, I think you're a perfect fit for our company. How about it? If you're okay with it, we'd love to have you join our team. Really, I asked, surprised and hopeful. I also agree. Let's bring Tyler into our company. Would you consider it positively? President Johnson's associate added. If you think I'm suitable, I'd like to contribute to your company immediately. Please count on me, I said, feeling a surge of gratitude and excitement. Thus, I transitioned from Hayes Company to Johnson Corporation. When I shared the news with my grandmother, she was overjoyed, as if it were her achievement. It's good to see that your efforts have been recognized, Tyler, she said with pride. That's an exaggeration, I replied, smiling. What are you saying? Your parents overseas are thrilled. Moving to such a prestigious company is amazing, Grandma said. Grandma, did you go ahead and tell them? I asked, amused. It's not a bad thing, right? I even boasted about it to our neighbors. Grandma, that's embarrassing, I said, chuckling. Tyler, acting for the benefit of others is a good thing, isn't it? If Grandma hadn't taught me that, I might not have found such a great company. Thank you, I added sincerely. I didn't do anything. You achieved this on your own, so be more confident in yourself. All right, Grandma reassured me. Even after joining Johnson Corporation with Mr. Johnson's recommendation, I remained humble and dedicated. My efforts were soon recognized, and I advanced quickly in my career. Meanwhile, Hayes Company's reputation suffered due to the incident. Their failure to adopt a more customer-centric approach led to a decline in performance, and they faced significant financial difficulties. In the end, the values of integrity, empathy, and respect proved to be far more rewarding than mere business transactions, reaffirming the importance of staying true to one's principles. The reunion with Haley marked a new chapter in my life, filled with happiness and promise. As our relationship blossomed and we began planning our future together, it was a joyful period, one that I cherished deeply. However, Mary's unexpected appearance cast a shadow over my excitement. Her presence stirred up old grievances from our school days, and I found it disheartening that she still harbored such negative feelings toward me. It was baffling that, even years later, she could cling to past grudges with such intensity. "Tyler, I didn't expect to see you here," Mary said, her tone tinged with a mix of bitterness and surprise. "I see you're doing well for yourself. Must be nice to have everything turn out so perfectly." I took a deep breath, trying to maintain composure despite the underlying irritation. "Mary, it's been a long time. I've moved on from those days, and I'd prefer to focus on the present." "Is that so?" Mary retorted, crossing her arms. "Well, some people never change. It's funny how things turn out." Her words felt like a jarring note in an otherwise harmonious melody. I was tempted to respond with equal sharpness, but I reminded myself of the progress I had made and the positive direction my life was heading. "Look, Mary," I said calmly, "I'm happy with where I am now, and I hope you find the same peace and fulfillment in your own life." Mary's expression softened slightly, but the tension remained palpable. "I suppose you're right. Maybe I've been holding on to things longer than I should have." Despite the awkwardness of the encounter, I chose to leave the conversation on a note of understanding. After all, clinging to old grudges would only hinder my happiness. As I walked away, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and commitment to the life I had built with Haley and our family. Life had taken many twists and turns, but with each challenge, I had grown stronger and more focused on what truly mattered. And in the end, it was the love and support of those who mattered most that made the journey worthwhile. When I took Mary to her husband's office, I knew it would be a revelation for her. I had intentionally kept my position as CEO under wraps, wanting her to experience the irony of the situation firsthand. As we approached the office, Mary's demeanor was nonchalant, her laughter echoing around the hall. She was still basking in the misplaced confidence of her misconceptions about me. However, that all changed when Robert, her husband, emerged from the office. Robert, Mary's eyes widened in surprise as she took in the sight of her husband in a CEO's office. "Yes, Mary," Robert said, extending his hand to me with a cordial smile. "It's good to meet you, Tyler. I've heard quite a lot about you." Mary's face turned pale as she processed the realization of the truth. Her confidence evaporated, replaced by a wave of regret and embarrassment. The weight of her past actions seemed to crush her under its gravity. I didn't know," Mary stammered, her voice faltering. "I'm so sorry, Tyler. I had no idea you were." "There's no need to apologize," I replied calmly. "We've moved on from those days, haven't we? What's important now is how we handle the present and future." Robert, observing the exchange, gave a reassuring nod. "It seems like there's been quite a history between you two. Tyler's made significant progress since then, and I'm proud to have him as part of our company." Mary's regret was palpable. She was speechless, her eyes darting between Robert and me, realizing the gravity of her past mistakes. Her earlier laughter was replaced with a deep, uncomfortable silence. "I didn't know about your struggles back then," Robert continued. "But from what I've learned, you've overcome a lot. I think that's something to be admired." The encounter was a sobering reminder for Mary of the consequences of her actions. I could see the acknowledgement of her past wrongdoings reflected in her demeanor. This confrontation catalyzed her to confront her past mistakes and perhaps begin a process of self-reflection and change. As we parted ways, Mary's demeanor had transformed from a smug assurance to a quiet remorse. Robert and I exchanged a look of mutual understanding. Sometimes the best way to deal with past grievances is to face them head-on and demonstrate how far we've come since those difficult times. In the end, I continued to focus on my role as CEO, driven by the values of growth and understanding. My experiences shaped me into a resilient leader, and I carried those lessons forward in my professional and personal life. The past was a chapter one had moved beyond, but it had also become a source of strength and insight as I navigated the complexities of life and leadership. As I mingled at the reunion, the past seemed to resurface with an unexpected intensity. I'd hoped for a chance to reconnect and catch up with old friends, but Mary's presence and her old habits made me feel like I was back in high school. When Mary approached me, her attitude hadn't changed at all. Her remarks were laced with the same condescension I remembered from our school days. I tried to steer clear of her, hoping to enjoy the reunion without further confrontation. But she followed me persistently, her voice carrying across the room. "Hey, where do you work now?" "Well, you can't say, can you? My husband, you see, works at a major corporation and is incredibly handsome," Mary prattled on, her tone dripping with superiority. I was taken aback by her blatant attempt to flaunt her husband's success while insinuating that I was still insignificant. Despite her boasting, I chose to remain calm and not engage in a fruitless argument. Instead, I focused on enjoying the evening and catching up with other classmates who were genuinely interested in reconnecting. As Mary continued her grandstanding, I could see that her attitude hadn't evolved much. Her need to belittle others to feel superior was as evident as ever. I realized that despite the years that had passed, some people never changed. I decided to take a step back and let the evening unfold naturally. It wasn't worth letting Mary's behavior ruin the reunion for me. I engaged with others who were genuinely pleased to see me and enjoyed the night as best as I could. In the end, the reunion served as a reminder of how far I'd come since high school. My experiences and achievements were a testament to my growth and resilience. Mary's attempt to diminish that was just a small bump in the road, and I chose to focus on the positive connections I was able to make. As I reflected on the evening, I was grateful for the supportive relationships I had developed over the years and the values my grandmother had instilled in me. Her lessons on integrity and empathy guided me well. I realized that I didn't need to seek validation from those who tried to undermine me. Instead, I could take pride in my journey and the person I had become. With a renewed sense of confidence and a smile on my face, I left the reunion, ready to continue embracing the future with gratitude and determination. Even after joining Johnson Corporation with Mr. Johnson's recommendation, I stayed true to my values, remaining humble and dedicated to my work. My commitment did not go unnoticed, and I quickly rose through the ranks. Meanwhile, Hayes Company's reputation took a significant hit. Their failure to adopt a customer-centric approach led to a sharp decline in performance, eventually pushing them to the brink of bankruptcy. The incident served as a stark reminder of the importance of empathy and professionalism in business. Several months later, I had the opportunity to reconnect with Haley. By this time, her health had improved remarkably. She was now able to walk without the aid of a wheelchair. To celebrate this positive turn in her life, we decided to have dinner together. The evening was tinged with both excitement and nerves, but Haley's bright and kind nature was a reassuring presence. As we settled into the cozy ambience of the restaurant, I couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed since we last saw each other. "This restaurant's food is delicious, isn't it?" Haley I asked, attempting to ease into the conversation. Haley looked around with a contented smile. "Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it more than you know. Let's drop the formalities. Aren't we the same age? Don't tell me you don't remember me," she said playfully. A sudden realization dawned on me. "Wait, you're Johnson's daughter, right?" I asked, trying to piece together the connection. Haley laughed softly. "Not quite. We were classmates in elementary school," she explained. The memories came flooding back. "Oh, right. Back then, being known as the daughter of Johnson Corporation's president caused you quite a bit of trouble. I remember now. You always seemed to have a tough time, but you were always there to help me, no matter what." I recalled, feeling a pang of nostalgia. Haley's eyes softened with appreciation. "It meant a lot to me that you noticed. I couldn't stand to see someone who hadn't done anything wrong suffer like that," she said, her voice reflecting genuine gratitude. "I've always appreciated your support," I said sincerely. Haley's eyes twinkled with a hint of mischief. "And if I may say so, you're looking quite handsome yourself," she teased. I felt my cheeks flush. "Well, thank you. I've had feelings for you since elementary school," I admitted, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and nervousness. "Really?" "I had no idea," Haley said, her surprise evident. She leaned in slightly, her gaze fixed on mine. "Yes. After being saved by you so many times, I always wanted to repay you. Now that we've reunited, I'm truly happy," I confessed, feeling a sense of relief and joy. Haley's smile brightened as she reached out to touch my hand. "I'm glad we met again too. I've thought about you often over the years. It's funny how life brings people back together," she said softly. I took a deep breath, feeling a surge of courage. "So, if it's all right with you, would you be my girlfriend?" I asked, my voice tinged with both hope and vulnerability. Haley's eyes sparkled with warmth and affection. "I'd be delighted," she replied, her smile radiant. The evening unfolded with laughter, shared memories, and a sense of renewed connection. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, and as we enjoyed the meal, it felt like no time had passed since our days in elementary school. We talked about our lives, our dreams, and the paths we had taken. It was clear that, despite the years apart, the bond between us had only grown stronger. As we finished dinner and stepped out into the cool evening air, I felt a sense of contentment and excitement for the future. The rekindling of our relationship marked the beginning of a new chapter in both our lives, filled with promise and potential. Later on, when we went to greet Mr. Johnson again to discuss our plans, he was overjoyed and welcomed us warmly. Our relationship continued to flourish, and eventually Haley and I got married. We were blessed with 2 healthy children and built a life filled with love and happiness. As I worked diligently towards becoming a future president of the company, I felt grateful for the family and support I had. However, my excitement for the reunion was momentarily dampened by the presence of Mary, a former classmate who had always been mean to me. Despite my initial irritation at her lingering grudge, I was also impressed by her ability to remember such details from our school days. Mary had always viewed me as inferior due to my academic struggles. She expressed a desire to see where I worked, unaware that I was now the CEO of a major company with 7,500 employees. When I took her to her husband's company's CEO office, she laughed off my attempts to impress her. But when her husband emerged and explained the situation, Mary's face turned pale, and she was overcome with regret. As I reflected on our journey, I realized that life had a way of bringing everything full circle. The challenges and triumphs, the connections and disconnections, all led to a deeper understanding of ourselves and each other. And as I looked forward to the future, I did so with a sense of fulfillment and optimism, grateful for the path that had brought me to where I am today. Sure you're not? Accusations like these were frequent, and sometimes they'd even hide my text box. My classmates and friends always came to my rescue, but Mary never stopped her harassment. Her anger only grew when she saw I had support, escalating her behavior. For instance, she'd write fake love letters to call me out only to ridicule my earnest waiting or give me a different meetup location for a class party. Luckily, I was supposed to go to the party with a friend, so I managed to get to the right location. Mary didn't stop her harassment until we graduated. After graduation, I thought I had left all that behind. Mary's tormenting seemed like a distant memory. But now, with the reunion approaching, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of apprehension at the thought of seeing her again. Despite my reservations, I looked forward to catching up with old classmates. The day of the reunion finally arrived, and I was eager to reconnect with friends and enjoy the evening. The venue was a luxurious hotel with a $100 participation fee on the higher side, but reasonable for most people at 40. I took the elevator to the designated floor, checked the guide board, and handed an envelope containing my participation fee to a classmate at the reception. I entered the venue, where several people had already gathered. Scanning the room, I quickly spotted Mary. I tried to keep my distance, hoping to avoid her, but it seemed fate had other plans. Mary noticed me and hurried over with a smirk. "I never thought you'd attend the reunion." "Did you pay the fee yourself?" she inquired with a hint of disbelief. "Yes, I did. I handed it over at the reception," I replied, trying to remain composed. "Really? We probably had someone else pay for you," she said with a dismissive laugh. I was taken aback by her continued hostility. "I paid with my own money," I stated firmly. From the start, Mary's remarks were laced with a thinly veiled condescension. I had hoped she might have matured by now, but it was clear that she hadn't changed much since high school, despite my attempts to move on. Her presence was a constant reminder of the past. With a slight slump in my shoulders, I decided to get a drink to calm my nerves. As I approached the drinks table, I felt Mary's eyes on me again. She followed me, and soon she was by my side, peppering me with questions. "So, where do you work now?" "I'm sure it's nothing impressive," she asked, her tone dripping with disdain. "My husband works at a major corporation and is incredibly handsome. I bet you can't even match up to that." Mary's words were sharp and unnecessary. I stumbled over my response, and she took it as a sign of inadequacy. Her boasting about her husband's success seemed to be her way of compensating for her insecurities. She went on about how she could live comfortably on her husband's salary, presenting herself as the epitome of success and refinement. "It's not a bad thing, right? I even boasted about it to our neighbors," she continued, with an air of superiority. "Grandma, that's embarrassing. Tyler, acting for the benefit of others is a good thing, isn't it? If Grandma hadn't taught me that, I might not have found such a great company." I listened, feeling a mix of irritation and amusement. Her attempts to belittle me and flaunt her perceived superiority were transparent. I chose not to engage further and instead focused on enjoying the evening. Yet, I couldn't completely shake the memories of how Mary had treated me in school. Seeing Mary's stunned expression and her subsequent regret over her past actions was a moment of unexpected justice. Her previous arrogance and condescension seemed to melt away as she confronted the reality of my success. Reflecting on our journey, I realized that the reunion had been more than just a chance to reconnect with old friends. It had been an opportunity to confront and overcome the challenges of the past. The experience reaffirmed that personal growth, humility, and perseverance ultimately lead to true success. In the end, Mary's reaction served as a reminder of how far I had come and how important it is to remain grounded, regardless of past grievances. It was a poignant reminder that the journey of life is full of surprises and lessons, and that true character is demonstrated through resilience and grace. Accusations like these were frequent, and sometimes they'd even hide my text box. My classmates and friends always came to my rescue, but Mary never stopped her harassment. Her anger only grew when she saw I had support, escalating her behavior. For example, she'd write fake love letters to call me out only to ridicule my earnest waiting, or she'd give me a different meetup location for a class party. Fortunately, I was supposed to go to the party with a friend. So I managed to get to the correct location despite her attempts to mislead me. Mary's harassment didn't cease until we graduated. After graduation, I had completely forgotten about her. It seemed that the unpleasant memories were left behind at the end of school. However, as the date for the high school reunion approached, I learned that Mary would also be attending. A slight sense of dread accompanied the anticipation of seeing my old classmates after such a long time. 1 month after receiving the invitation, the day of the reunion finally arrived. I had wrapped up important work the day before, so I was ready to fully embrace the reunion with a mix of nervousness and excitement. I headed to the venue for the reunion. This year, the event was held at a more upscale location than usual, likely due to the number of attendees. A luxury hotel was chosen as the venue, with a participation fee of $100 per person. While this amount might seem a bit high, it was manageable for most people in their 40s. Upon arrival, I took the elevator to the designated floor and checked the guide board. I handed an envelope containing my participation fee to a classmate at the reception and then entered the venue. Several people had already arrived, scanning the room. I immediately spotted Mary. My instinct was to avoid her as much as possible, so I attempted to move to the edge of the room. Unfortunately, my efforts were in vain as I seemed to have caught her eye. Mary's gaze landed on me, and with a flash of recognition, she hurried over with a smile that seemed both genuine and calculating. "I never thought you'd come to the reunion. Did you pay the fee yourself?" she asked, her tone edged with surprise and skepticism. "It's been a while," I replied, trying to keep my response neutral. "I just handed it over at the reception," I added, attempting to keep the conversation simple. "Really? We probably had someone else pay for you," Mary retorted, her voice tinged with derision. "I paid with my wallet," I said, slightly irritated. Right from the start, Mary began throwing snide remarks my way. I had hoped that with age she might have matured, but it seemed she was just the same as she was in school. My faint hope that we might get along now was quickly dashed. Feeling a bit deflated, I decided to get a drink. I headed toward the drinks table, trying to shake off Mary's presence. To my dismay, she followed me. Once at the drinks table, Mary began asking various intrusive questions, such as what job I was doing and how much money I made. "Hey, where do you work now?" "Well, you can't say, can you? My husband, you see, works at a major corporation and is incredibly handsome," she said, her voice dripping with self-satisfaction. Her comments were designed to belittle and compare. Stumbling over my words, Mary interpreted my hesitancy as a sign of embarrassment or inadequacy. She began to boast about her husband and their life. They had met at a mixer and married soon after. Mary, now a homemaker, lived comfortably on her husband's salary and was proud of her stable and affluent life. "Well, I'm not like you," I replied, trying to keep my tone even despite my growing annoyance. "A pool person?" Mary asked, a hint of condescension in her voice. "Yeah, you were never good at studying back in school," she continued, her tone almost gleeful as she brought up old grievances. "That was decades ago, wasn't it?" I countered, trying to downplay her attempt to diminish my achievements. As the evening wore on, Mary's comments continued to rub me the wrong way, but I tried to focus on reconnecting with other classmates and enjoying the reunion, despite her attempts to provoke me. I remained composed and decided that letting her words affect me would be a waste of energy. The reunion was meant to be a celebration of our past and present, and I was determined to make the most of it. It seems Mary still remembers my struggle with studies and teases me about it. While I'm irritated that she still clings to those old grievances even at 40, I can't help but admire her ability to recall such details. Despite her mediocre grades, Mary has always been perceived as pretty, and her self-esteem remains quite high. It would be acceptable if she simply had high self-esteem, but it's troubling because she tries to elevate herself by putting others down. As the reunion went on, I could see that some classmates were visibly frowning at Mary's behavior. Despite the growing discomfort among the crowd, Mary seemed indifferent to their reactions and continued her disparaging remarks. I focused on catching up with old friends and relishing the nostalgia. But towards the end of the evening, Mary cornered me again. Her face bore a look of challenge as she demanded, "Show me where that incompetent pool person works." With a mixture of resolve and a hint of satisfaction, I guided her to the CEO's office. Mary, who had thought I was just a minor player in the grand scheme of things, went pale as she entered the room. The office was enormous, its grandeur accentuated by its expansive design and the prestigious air that surrounded it. An executive employee greeted us as we stepped inside. "How does it feel to see the result of your teasing?" I asked bluntly, unable to mask the tinge of vindication in my voice. "To be frank, I can't easily forgive you for what you did back in school." Mary's face turned a deeper shade of red as she stammered, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I should have been nicer." Her voice trembled with regret, a stark contrast to her earlier arrogance. "You know what you did," I replied firmly. "Don't think that an apology will erase the hurt you caused. Back then, I was confused and deeply hurt by your actions." "I'm sorry. I hope we can stay friends," Mary pleaded, her eyes searching for some semblance of redemption. "Even though you don't think well of me, I've been doing all right since we graduated." I regarded her with a mix of pity and resolve. "I see," I responded, my tone measured. The awkwardness in the air was palpable. Mary was deeply embarrassed, while I experienced a somewhat gratifying sense of revenge. The following day, I received news from the office that Mary and her husband were experiencing financial difficulties. Their company was facing significant challenges, and their reunion visit was an attempt to find new business partners. The outcome was far from what they had hoped. As I reflected on the events of the reunion, I felt a complex blend of emotions. While I was pleased to have confronted my past and asserted myself, I also realized that the journey had left an indelible mark on both Mary and me. The reunion had been more than just a nostalgic gathering. It had become a moment of reckoning and an unexpected twist in our lives. As we wrap up this story, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. This tale of past misunderstandings, unexpected reunions, and personal growth teaches us valuable lessons about resilience, forgiveness, and the impact of our actions on others. What has this story taught you? Is there one lesson or insight you've gained that you plan to bring into your own life? We'd love to hear from you. Please share your thoughts in the comments below this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave your comment and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.